I have heard many people say your 60s are the most important decade. Well, I honestly disagree. I think your 70s is the decade that changes you the most, not because life is almost over, but because life gets very, very real in your 70s. And we're going to talk about that today. Stay tuned. Hi, and welcome to my channel. Thank you for being here. Well, we're going to talk about why your 70s may be the most important decade of your life. I think the 70s is the decisive decade, the decade that you have to make some major decisions. Now, that is not to take away from other decades. I know a lot of things change in your 60s. You retire, you're no longer identified by your career and what you did as a career, and you're kind of trying to find your way and get into your retirement life. So I realize those changes. And let me say up front, for those of you that are in your 80s, 90s, and beyond, what I'm going to say in this video, you already know because you've been there, done that. So that's not to take away from you in your decade either. I know for me, when I entered my 70s, it was a real turning point. I don't know, for some reason, when I was still in my 60s, even my late 60s, I still felt kind of middle aged. But once you hit 70, there's a certain shift that takes place in your mind. And it was very noticeable to me. So many things change and get our attention in our 70s. And we have a lot of important decisions to make to be able to move forward in our lives. Now, one thing I noticed was your body definitely gets your attention when you're in your 70s. The different aches and pains and weird things that happen just show up out of the blue. Things that didn't show up when I was in my 60s. Not that anybody in their 60s don't have aches and pains, but I'm talking on a different level. And I mean, you can go to bed feeling fine and you wake up and something aches or hurts, or you can't move your wrist, or your knee doesn't bend right, or who knows what it is. Half the time we don't know why it happened. All of a sudden it goes away and then there's something else. So your body definitely gets your attention in your 70s. And many of these things are new to us. I know I did a video, I don't know, I think it was last summer, where the mosquitoes were out and I am outside all the time. And so I got bit by mosquitoes on my legs, just a couple bites. But I was doing something and I was sitting on the patio just scratching, my lower leg where I knew a mosquito had bit me. And when I got up and came in, my leg was beet red. I mean, purple red. It looked awful. And it was just from me scratching a mosquito bite. That had never happened to me before. And worse than that, it took 6 months to disappear. And just the other day, I did the same darn thing. I felt my leg itching. I knew I had gotten a mosquito bite. I just reached my hand down to scratch it, and now my leg is marked up again. Physical aging can change how you live your day to day life, but that teaches us humility, so that's a good thing. We may find out we're limited in certain things, but we always seem to find a workaround. Plus, it makes us grateful for the things that do still work. And then there's the healing process. No matter what it is, if you just get a little cut on your finger or a scrape on your knee or anything, my gosh, it takes months to heal. That never happened before. So the 70s definitely get your attention in that area. I never know what body I'm going to wake up to in the morning. It like reintroduces itself to me every morning with something new, something minor, something laughable, something that I just shrug my shoulders and say, oh, well, I don't know where that came from. But it's just all part of aging, and we can learn to laugh about those things. It's not serious. Another big thing that stands out in my mind that shows up in your 70s is that loss becomes very real. It becomes personal and much closer to you. Most people in their 70s have already lost their parents, although I had my ma until 3 years ago. But it's not that we haven't been through loss, but it comes at you kind of harder and faster. You start hearing of many of your classmates that have died, your neighbors die, we lose spouses, we lose siblings, relatives, things like that. And it really hits home. You start to think about it a lot because you know more losses are going to come. That's just inevitable. Now, that's nothing to be depressed over because it's part of life and it's something that we have to accept. But I think we take a deeper look at it when we get into our 70s. Another thing that I've noticed that happens in the 70s is you stop caring about foolish things, and that's a good thing. I have no tolerance for foolishness, and there's a lot of foolishness out there. You know, you don't care what people think anymore, or what they say, or what their opinions are. There are many things that you're able to just let go of that you couldn't before because they bothered you or it mattered to you. But now, all this foolishness out there, no matter what it is, gossip, hatred, division, this, that, the other, I don't have time for that. I don't have patience for that. And I'm grateful that I can recognize it and just shut the door on it. I don't want it in my life. It has no place for me. Another thing I've noticed for myself, and maybe many of you have too, is that your spiritual life really deepens in your 70s. Now, that's not to say that you didn't have a good and deep spiritual life all your life, or in your 60s or 50s or whatever. But I can't explain it. It just deepens. It goes to a whole new level. I think we think about eternity more. We really think about forgiveness and making amends where we need to do that in our lives. We look at our lives and reflect on our lives and see where we can do better. And maybe look at how we generally treated people, and we just see a whole new way to do that. We become softer and kinder and more generous and more compassionate and so many things. Now, that has definitely been my experience. I'd love to know if you've noticed that as well. And that kind of leads into we start examining our lives. We start thinking, does this really matter? I mean, why am I doing this? Am I wasting precious time doing this when it really doesn't matter? We want to spend our time wisely. We want to learn the things that are going to add value to us and improve our life and grow us in our life. We don't want to waste time doing things that really don't mean anything. And self reflection really plays a big role in that. Sometimes I'll find myself doing something and then I stop and think, why am I doing this? I mean, this doesn't need to be done. I'm wasting my time. Is it just because of routine or habit? Well, most likely it is. But the thing is, now I'm aware of it and I think about it so that I can make the decision to spend my time more wisely if that's what I need to do. Another point I'll bring up is that we really see the beauty in ordinary, everyday life and everyday moments. I'm telling you, for all of my life until I'd say my late 60s, I never paid attention to birds. I think I talked about this once a few years ago in a video, but I mean, I knew birds existed. I didn't look for them, I didn't listen to them. I just didn't pay them any mind at all. Now it's like I'm I'm obsessed with birds. I feel like I'm surrounded with birds. I like to look at them. I like to listen to them talk to each other. I like to know what kind of bird it is and things like that. I sit and wonder about birds. Wow, that sounds strange, doesn't it? But I do. I wonder, where do they go when it rains? It's like when I'm sitting outside, I see them flying around and going from tree to tree, and I really enjoy that. But if it's raining, I don't see them. So where do they go? You know, how do they know how to build a nest? And I'm thinking all these things and wondering, why am I thinking about this? But it just comes to me. I'm fascinated by it. I'm I'm more inquisitive about nature and how God created everything and how he has taken care of everything. And we all know what to do, and birds know what to do, ants know what to do. Everything knows what to do. I find it absolutely amazing, and it makes me so very grateful for everything that the Lord has created. I know many of you have shared with me how your your ordinary day means so much to you and what you enjoy about it. And for most of us, it's that morning cup of coffee or being able to sit outside in peace and quiet or do something that we enjoy. So that great appreciation for everyday life really hits you in your 70s. You know, when we're younger, we're thinking, oh, where are we going for vacation this year? Or I hope we get to make a trip to the beach. Or maybe when you retire in your 60s, you think, oh, I'm going to travel a lot. I can't wait to travel and do the things I want to do. But in your 70s, you become so content with the life you have created and your little routine and your simple pleasures that it really adds to your life. Now, in the beginning of this video, I said that to me, the 70s may be the most important decade of our lives because we have to make decisions. Decisions that we may have thought about, they fleetingly flew in and out of our mind, and we figured, oh, yeah, I better take care of that soon. But we didn't. Well, once you get in your 70s, you know how important those decisions are. And I'm talking about things like making sure you have a will. This isn't meant to sound morbid or anything. It's like I said in the beginning, life becomes very real. We all need a will or a trust or your wishes expressed in whatever way you want them expressed. We have to make those kind of decisions. Where are we going to live as we get older? Do you want to age in place? Would you like to live with one of your children if they would be so gracious to have you come and live with them when you get older and maybe need extra help? Is one of your biggest fears having to go to a nursing home? And how do you cope with those feelings? There's a lot to think about. And again, it's just preparing us so that we can be proactive and decide the things we want as we continue to age and move into the next decade, like our 80s. And when you get in your 80s, of course, your health could decline even more. And I think the average lifespan of women is, I don't know, somewhere around the early 80s. And many people live to 100. I'm not saying that they don't, but I'm just saying that's why we have to prepare. I know for me, I'm planning to age in place. And I'm trying to have everything set up and ready for that to happen. Now, does that mean it will happen? Absolutely not. We can make all the plans we want, and it doesn't always turn out that way. But I feel we have a responsibility and we owe it to ourselves. If we really want to do something a certain way, then we have to prepare for it and do what we can to make it happen. Other decisions that may have to be made in our 70s. If you live with someone, whether it's a friend, a relative, a partner, a spouse, and that person is no longer here, can you stay where you're at? Can you make it that way? Can you financially afford it? If not, then where would you go? Would you want to just buy another home, just a smaller one, or rent an apartment, or go into a senior living type thing? And again, please don't look at this as a downer or depressing. I'm saying it because I know these thoughts have to enter our minds at this stage in life. I mean, I can't say every single person in their 70s has these thoughts, but I would bet you the majority does. And we don't want to just brush them aside. We want to use our wisdom, think about it, and come up with a plan. Plan A, Plan B, Plan C. And hopefully one of those plans will work out. And the last thing I'll mention, a big decision that kind of weighs on your mind when you get to your 70s. And probably because, hey, after 70s, 80s is right around the corner. So you start thinking of those things. But that decision would be, how do I want the end of my life to be? I want it to be the way I want it to be. And I want to make sure that it is that way. So I have had the thoughts. I mean, I've had them longer than my 70s. But in my 70s, I knew I had to come to a decision. Did I want to be buried or did I want to be cremated? I thought about it, oh, I'm sure, probably a time or two in my 50s, more so in my later 60s. But then when I got my 70s, I knew it was time to just quit thinking about it. I had to make a decision. So I did. And for me, I want to be cremated. But we all have different, desires or wants or how we want things to be done. And whatever you decide is fine. The important thing is that it's time to decide. Now, you might not have to actually deal with that for another 20 years, God willing. But we have to have something in place so that our loved ones aren't left guessing. I wonder what mom wanted. Would she have wanted to be buried or cremated? She never talked about it. I don't want my kids to have to wonder. and make a decision that they may feel guilty over for the rest of their life. I want them to know that when my time comes, whether that's tomorrow or 25 years from now, I want to be cremated and I'm ready to make that decision. And to go along with that are health decisions. You know, they tell you, I mean, when you go to a doctor and you're a senior, I think starting at 65, they start giving you that paperwork or asking you, do you have a DNR already done? Do not resuscitate. And you're 65 thinking, oh my gosh, I don't want to think about that. I'm only 65. Well, when you get close to 75 and beyond, you have to think about it because life can end for any of us at any time. So things like that have to be taken care of. To have a DNR and decide if you want that or not. And do you want to go through treatments if it's needed for some disease? Or do you want to die at home or do you want to be in a hospital? Those are all very personal choices. But remember, if we don't make them ahead of time, somebody else is going to have to make them for us. And I think that's a heavy burden to put on someone else. And another thing, then I have no say so in my own life. I don't get to decide because I didn't have it in writing and make the decision in advance. Now, for me, hospice all the way. No, if I get something where it's going to be terminal and it's going to eventually be the cause of my demise, or I'm sick, or whatever it is, I'm staying put in my home and I'm having hospice. I don't care if I'm laid up in a hospital bed right here in this room and I can't get out of bed. Somebody better wheel me out those sliding glass doors behind me and put me outside in that bed every day that I can enjoy fresh air and sunshine, see the birds, hear the birds, and have that part of my day that I've had for so many years. That's what I want for my life. That's what I want for the end of my life. Why does the end have to be any different than how it is now? Why can't I be in my own home, the comfort of my own home, with my own blankets, my own pillows, my own pajamas, even if I'm bedridden in a hospital bed? These things matter to me very, very much. And please, I'm not saying to anybody, you better sit down today and make all these decisions before they're taken out of your hands. You can't really make those decisions until you're ready to, until you're ready to really think about them, put them in the right perspective, and have the wisdom to go through everything and calmly make those decisions. But that's my whole point of this video. I feel the 70s is the time to make these decisions. I don't want to take the chance and wait till I'm in my 80s because there's no guarantee I'll make it to my 80s. Now, please let me know, those of you who are in your 70s, maybe 80s, maybe 60s or 50s, do you have these thoughts? Have you been able to make decisions and, get them in writing or let your children know or your spouse or whoever needs to know what your wishes are? Have you been able to take the time to really think about these things? And I'm telling you, it's not like you have to make an intentional effort to do it like, okay, this week I'm going to sit down and make these decisions. I'm telling you, for me in my 70s, they were right here. They hit me in the face. I mean, it was like, it's time. They wouldn't go away. It wasn't like a fleeting thought, or I'd think of something and think, well, let me give that some thought and I'll make that decision soon. And then months and months and months go by. No, these were right there saying, it's time. The thought's not going away. And so that's why I say the 70s involve major decisions for the rest of our lives. Please let me know in the comments if you are where I am, if you have had these thoughts, if you've made preparations, whatever. I would love to know how you feel about this. And again, I hope nobody found it like a downer, because I don't do downer videos. I'm very encouraging, and I want you all to be encouraged and to have hope and dreams and faith that you are going to be here for quite a while longer, but that you have taken the time to make good decisions for yourself. That's the most important thing. And I do want to ask you all a question. I would love to do a video on death. Now wait, don't click away and think, "Oh my gosh." No, not a depressing, not a sad, not a downer video, but the beauty of it and what I have personally experienced watching my ma and my sister, and then a very good friend of mine from many years ago, go through death, and being there and what I saw, what I witnessed, and the feelings I had. It's so uplifting. It's so beautiful. And if you've ever had fear over death, which I think we all have, I know I have as well, this took the fear away. I'm telling you, it took it away. You get a whole new perspective on it when you see it through different eyes. I would love to share that with you all if it's something you think you would be interested in. So just let me know. All right, let's move on to an inside beauty tip. My inside beauty tip comes from Romans 8:38-39. For I am convinced that neither life nor death, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus our Lord. I know when we're making decisions as we age, it can be very daunting. We don't know if we have a day left in our future or 20 years. We don't know what that future's going to look like. It could be everything we ever hoped it would be, but it could also throw us some curveballs. This verse brings me great comfort knowing that whatever my circumstances are, whatever happens, God will always be with me and you. I will never be separated from Him. Nothing is breakable when it comes to the love of God and the comfort of God that surrounds us each and every day. Just knowing that someone is there for me, that He is there for me, makes me know that I can face anything, because I don't have to face it alone, and neither do you. I thank you so much for being here today. I truly do appreciate it. And until we meet again, this is the old girl signing out. See ya.